5 starts with this breaking news alert.
Police reform proposals announced at every level of government. In Washington, D.C., 2 competing plans are introduced, one from each party. Coming up, some of the differences, as bipartisan support is needed for one to become law.
Several steps also taken here in Ohio by the governor and attorney general. Some of the changes for current and future officers.
And here in Columbus, maybe the biggest announcement of all. Mayor Ginther says that CPD will join a movement pushing toward policies he believes will keep everyone safer. A lot to get to tonight. And we'll begin with some breaking news out of Atlanta. The officers involved in the shooting death of Rayshard Brooks on Friday night are going to face charges. The officer who opened fire up against murder and aggravated assault charges. The other facing aggravated assault, but also offering to testify for the state. We'll check in with ABC's Trevor Ault in Atlanta in a few minutes. Brooks's death is only adding to the calls for police reform across the country. And here in Ohio, some of the biggest proposals from the governor and attorney general include a permanent fund for more officer training.
People applying to become police officers will also be held to higher standards. Jeff Reddick live at the State House now with some of the biggest takeaways. Jeff.
Well, the governor has 5 big requests for the state legislature moving forward with these police reforms. And let's run down all of those right now. First, number 1, the governor wants a new rule that every prospective police officer in Ohio take a psychological exam before entering police academy. This to ensure that they are mentally fit for the job. 2, DeWine wants to find more money for annual police training, a permanent funding stream every single year. 3, define the standard definition on use of force for all Ohio police and create a database on all those use of force incidents. And 4, create a law enforcement oversight and accountability board to review any officer who may violate the law or the standards of the job.
There are some officers in Ohio who just are not cut out to be in law enforcement. And they have no place being in a position of trust. We must do more to make sure that officers who lack that professionalism and who show racial bias, who are biased, are not wearing a badge in the state of Ohio.
And remember, I said there were 5 big things. The other big one today, Governor DeWine wants a ban on controversial police chokeholds statewide, never to be used to bring suspects under control unless other lives are endangered. Now, again, all of these things are items where the governor needs the help from the legislature to pass them into law. But there are some things the governor's doing where he doesn't need that help, and we'll run down those, which could start happening immediately, coming up at 5:30. Live at the State House, Jeff Reddick, ABC 6 News.
All right, Jeff, thank you. Attorney General Dave Yost also wants to make sure you have a voice in police reforms across the state. He started a new Facebook group called Be Heard by the AG. It's a public group. The AG wants comments, experiences, and suggestions, while also aiming to avoid the hate that can be seen on social media. Ideas and proposals are then compiled on the Attorney General's website. Now, community advocates called today a successful one in Columbus when it comes to police reform. The group Black Freedom 2020 had the mayor's ear at City Hall this morning.
Now, they followed that up with a meeting at CPD, and that's where Lisa Rontla is live with details on the mayor's policing policies announcement. Lisa?
Bob, Stacia, we did meet with members of Black Freedom 2020 earlier today before Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther announced he's implementing new policies for the Columbus Police Department. It's all part of a national campaign dubbed 8 Can't Wait. Now, the advocacy group Black Freedom 2020 were all smiles and hugs after meeting with the mayor earlier today. They wanted to talk about police brutality. Within the hour, Mayor Ginther announced his commitment to the 8 Can't Wait campaign aimed at reducing excessive force by the hands of an officer. Right now, Columbus checks the box for 4 of the campaign strategies. Those include a ban on chokeholds, de-escalation requirements, officers being required to warn citizens before they shoot, and having a use of force continuum in place. That allows an officer to know what type of force is acceptable on the job when confronting disobedience, restraint, or attack. Now, the 4 strategies the mayor has now committed to implementing for the city: exhausting all alternatives before shooting, a duty to intervene when an officer sees a fellow officer using excessive force, a ban on shooting at a moving vehicle, and a requirement for an officer to report any instance he or she pulls his or her service weapon. Now, advocates are calling this announcement a first step, but not a final solution.
We're not going to back down. We're going to keep going forward. We're going to keep criticizing them. We're going to keep pushing them until the changes are made. Once the changes are made, we're going to still keep pushing them to make them better and more improved.
Now, the advocates for Black Freedom 2020, they just exited Columbus Police Headquarters just a few moments ago, just before 5 o'clock today. They were able to tell me it was a very productive meeting, about a 2.5 hour meeting. They're standing by. They're about to tell us more, and we will keep you updated coming up in our next report at 6 o'clock. Reporting live from Columbus Police Headquarters, I'm Lisa Rontalef for ABC 6 News.
Thank you, Lisa. Mayor Ginther also joining a call with the mayors from across the state today to discuss efforts in Ohio to address racial injustice.
Alexis Moberger was on the call, tells us what new changes they hope to implement in their cities.
Mayors from Dayton, Columbus, Toledo, Akron, and Youngstown now forming a police reform support network. Together, they're hoping that they can make big change within their cities in light of George Floyd's death and all the protests that emerged shortly after.
The problem is when our residents leave outside of the city of Youngstown, they can be pulled over because they're driving while black. Those kind of systemic issues must stop.
Ohio mayors now listening to each other, trying to find best practices when it comes to police reforms.
We all know and recognize that we have work to do inside our police departments and inside our cities.
And addressing racial injustice.
We have so much to learn from other cities and to share what we have learned to help every community confront racial injustice.
The Ohio Mayors Alliance now forming a police reform support network. The goal? To turn the ideas they discuss into action by making policy changes.
This collaboration will draw on best practices and research from around Ohio and the country to help cities do the difficult work of implementing reforms.
Specifically, they'll be looking at expanding body cameras within police departments, strengthening accountability, and improving training and recruitment, and an opportunity to share what works best.
And that opportunity is to make our cities more just. And I think mayors across the state of Ohio want to grab that opportunity and get as much change done as we possibly can.
Alexis Moberger, ABC 6 News.
Back to that breaking news now out of Atlanta. The district attorney says officers involved in the deadly shooting of Rayshard Brooks will face charges. ABC's Trevor Ault has new details from the DA.
Today, Fulton County District Attorney Paul Howard announcing Officer Garrett Rolfe, who shot and killed 27-year-old Rayshard Brooks, is facing 11 charges, including felony murder, carrying a possible life sentence, or the death penalty.
We concluded and considered it as one of our important considerations that Mr. Brooks never presented himself as a threat.
The second officer, Devin Brosnan, is facing 3 charges, including aggravated assault, and is now a state's witness, according to the DA. The decision follows days of unrest in Atlanta, the shooting captured on video leading to renewed protests, a pair of officers putting Brooks through a field sobriety test, but when one tries to put him in handcuffs, Brooks resists.
Stop fighting! Stop fighting! You're gonna get tased! You're gonna get tased! Stop!
As he struggles, Brooks grabs the taser of one of the officers and as he's running away, appears to reach back and point the taser at Officer Garrett Rolfe. That's when investigators say Rolfe fires 3 shots.
Bunch of different other ways that could have been handled. That was probably the worst possible outcome.
In the midst of these heightened tensions, today Senate Republicans introduced their bill proposal for police reform, which would strengthen de-escalation training, ban chokeholds, and make lynching a federal crime. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi calling the bill inadequate, as House Democrats' proposal goes far further in its reforms. Officer Rolfe was fired from the Atlanta Police Department the day after the shooting, a decision criticized by the police union.
Black lives, they matter.
Brooks' family demanding justice for their loss.
The trust that we have with the police force is broken. And the only way to heal some of these wounds is through a conviction and a drastic change with the police department.
Trevor Ault, ABC News, Atlanta.
Get the day's top stories along with the latest local headlines on topics like policing and the future of our city's name delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up for our ABC6 newsletter. Just go to abc6onyourside.com/sign up and enter your email address to get started.
I'm Scott Thuman at the White House. It is one of the biggest challenges the president has had to face. Tonight, we go one-on-one with President Trump about race relations.
The storm on the East Coast finally pushing some rain our way. Coming up, we have the latest tracks, so we're going to time out when we're expecting the most and how much we're likely to get.
You can then turn to the training that is necessary to de-escalate situations, the duty to intervene, not standing there watching an officer with his knee on the neck, but intervening in those situations.
Senate Republicans unveiled their plans for police reform while the House Judiciary Committee does the same. Both include a new focus on community-based policing, along with more oversight and data collection. The biggest difference between these bills involves federal mandates on police use of force, which only appear in the House bill right now. Both of these will build on President Trump's executive order signed yesterday. Some activists say his plans don't go far enough to fix their problems with police.
That's putting a lot of pressure on him. Chief political correspondent Scott Thuman sat down with the president for a one-on-one interview today, and he joins us now live with what he had to say. Scott?
Yeah, Bob and Stacia, this is a pivotal moment for the president. How he handles this crisis could very well determine whether or not he gets reelected. And so I asked him, does he need to be doing more to address these growing nationwide worries? I want to begin by talking about race relations. And I'm curious, in the wake of the death of George Floyd and then, of course, Rayshard Brooks, some people worry that the tensions, the situation, are actually getting worse than better. And in a time of crisis, people traditionally look to a president to set the tone. Do you think that you should be even more empathetic?
I passed criminal justice reform, which nobody could get. President Obama couldn't get it. I don't know if he tried to get it, but he certainly didn't get it or didn't come close. Opportunity zones, historically black colleges and universities, I got them funded for a long term.
But do you think you need to sound more empathetic?
Well, I think what I have to do is get jobs back. I mean, if you want to know the truth, I do. I am empathetic.
Tell me one thing that you would do differently personally.
So I think that tone is a very important thing. And I try and have a very good tone, a very moderate tone, a very sympathetic in some cases tone. But I have to say that probably if I had an extra 10 hours or 20 hours in a day, I would love to say tone, yes.
What do you think when you see these statues around the country being taken down, in some cases torn down?
I don't like it. I'm not one that likes it. I think we have a history. We have a very, in fact, I was just going to make a statement on that today, unrelated to yours. We have a very, very important heritage and history, and whether things are good or bad, you learn from it.
So why not support changing the names of these bases if for so many people it does still cause angst, if they think it symbolizes discrimination? Why not support that?
The bases are a different thing, like Fort Bragg. For many, many years, just many, many decades, century, we had a name of Bragg. Nobody even knows the general, doesn't know much about him. But we won World War I. We won World War II. We've done a lot of winning from these bases. I like winning. I like continuing to win.
When it comes to sports and kneeling, you've indicated just last weekend on Twitter that perhaps you're done with this debate. You're done watching the NFL, maybe even.
I was very disappointed in the NFL when they came out with a statement. I was very disappointed in U.S. soccer. We support U.S. soccer. And now they go out and they say that you can do whatever you want. No. We have to show respect for our flag and for our national anthem.
Secondarily, do you think Colin Kaepernick should get another shot in the NFL?
If he deserves it, he should. If he has the playing ability. His playing wasn't up to snuff. The answer is absolutely I would. As far as kneeling, I would love to see him get another shot, but obviously he has to be able to play well. If he can't play well, I think it would be very unfair.
Mr. President, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. The president also telling me that he's optimistic about the work that's being done here on Capitol Hill regarding police reform, and he's working with Republican leaders closely on coming up with a bill that would provide some real solutions. Bob and Stacia, back to you.
Scott Thurman in Washington tonight. Thank you, Scott. And Facebook wants to increase voter turnout this November, but it won't change its policy that allows people like politicians to post false information on certain subjects, including voter fraud and violence. A new voting information center will appear on Facebook and Instagram. It'll feature details on voter registration, how to vote by mail, and where you can cast a ballot. It'll start popping up over the summer. And a live look now at Washington, D.C. and the White House tonight. New proposals from the Department of Justice could weaken legal protections for platforms like Facebook and Twitter. Lawmakers on both sides want to see changes. And the DOJ's proposal is inspired by President Trump's executive order expressing concern that these sites are silencing conservative voices. It would need to be approved by Congress.
Let's talk about big changes outside tonight because, Marshall, things got really steamy out there. Then it seemed to cool off a little bit. Where do we stand now?
We are watching this storm on the East Coast finally throwing a little bit of rain our direction. Look at this thing. It's enormous. It was in the Outer Banks yesterday. Now it's actually sliding a little bit to the northwest, pushing it up a little farther toward Virginia. And Ohio is now on the northwest side of this system. We've seen a few just light showers begin to move in during the afternoon. And you notice we have some cloud cover from Columbus down to Athens, northwestern Ohio, still nice and clear. Most of this is not quite getting to the ground, but a few sprinkles are possible up here near Mount Vernon, a little bit on out toward Coshocton County as well. So a few sprinkles this evening, but the real rain coming tomorrow. The temperatures are very different depending on where you've seen sun and where you've had some of that cloud cover. Tempstar heating and cooling current conditions, Kenton at 83 right now, but you get down here to Columbus and we're only at 77. Newark and Mount Vernon at 77, and it's 75 in Logan, Athens at 76. That has everything to do with the clouds. For the evening tonight, temperatures in the 70s across a lot of central Ohio. We'll leave a chance at a sprinkle in the forecast for the evening as this little band comes through. But after that, we're just partly cloudy. We're mild. We'll drop down to 62 for the overnight low. Not far from normal for this time of the year. By tomorrow morning, a few more of these showers are on the way in, and this is just the beginning. Because as this system way out to our east continues to swirl around, it's going to slowly make its way toward us. It's moving in completely the wrong direction compared to what we normally get around here. So in the afternoon, scattered showers and thunderstorms are on the way, and you'll notice these are swirling around from east and then pivoting around toward the southwest. So this is all turning around that low pressure center that is off to our southeast. As we go through the afternoon, a few rumbles of thunder are possible. And then once we get into Thursday night, this will begin to taper off. It will come back again on Friday as we get warm and humid again. So I think this evening you're looking at a good chance for some scattered showers from Mount Vernon out to Coshocton, and then we'll find a little more of that moving in on Thursday. On Thursday, everybody's going to get a better shot at this. Most areas getting between 1/10 and 1/4 of an inch out of this, so it's enough to at least give the garden a little bit of moisture, but it's not going to be a downpour. If you want to get out and about tomorrow, temperatures will be mild. We'll get to 76 in the afternoon and 83 by late afternoon, but you may have to dodge some showers and thunderstorms along the way. Daytime tomorrow, there's your high of 83. Afternoon showers and thunderstorms on the way. And Friday, it's warm and sticky. Showers and thunderstorms, the high 87. Feeling more like it's going to be in the low 90s. That gets us to the first day of summer, which is actually Saturday. Saturday up to 91 degrees, steamy in the afternoon, and some pop-up showers and thunderstorms will be likely both Saturday and Sunday. Then next week, a chance for showers and thunderstorms each day with a couple of cold fronts on the way.
Thank you very much, Marshall. A woman found dead in her car this morning by Columbus police. The new details we're learning coming up at 5:30.
First, a big ground beef recall might make you question having a hamburger. An easy way you can protect your health after the break.
And coming up at 6, you're itching to take that summer vacation, and that's got health officials worried about coronavirus numbers rising again. But if you are heading out of state, we'll help you keep some unwanted baggage from heading home with you on ABC 6 News at 6. Has the FDA recalling more than 40,000 pounds of ground beef. Food safety experts explain how consumers can stay safe if it unknowingly ends up in your fridge. Here's Sierra Lucas for Health Matters.
The pandemic has increased demand at grocery retailers nationwide, and now another ground beef recall after an E. coli contamination scare. Well, food experts say it's important to be informed about high-risk foods to avoid another infectious disease on top of what we're already going through.
Food safety is a really important public health problem, and people don't always recognize it as that.
Nearly 43,000 pounds of ground beef recalled, all from a plant in New Jersey.
This is very, very deadly disease. I actually lost a child to hemolytic uremic syndrome that was induced by E. coli 0157 H7. And he went from being perfectly healthy to dead in 12 days. And that's why I work in food safety, 19 years later.
Amid the global pandemic, demand for meat has skyrocketed, and so have the prices. Food safety experts worry that could impact how careful meat plants are being.
So you're taking new employees who have to learn new food safety practices, and you're putting them in a high stress situation. What concerns me right now is that the opportunity for those mistakes. And then of course, if you have firms or producers that are under financial stress, they may tend to say, well, it's okay if I just cut corners this one time.
Consumers can do their part by watching for recalls and using a food thermometer to cook meat thoroughly.
One of the high risk areas is ground meats. When you have ground meat, you've taken the meat and you've ground it all up so the bacteria can be distributed throughout the hamburger. And we all know that food doesn't cook evenly, right?
Although the U.S. food supply chain is one of the safest, the system isn't perfect. High-risk groups like elderly and children should be on high alert. For Health Matters, I'm Sierra Lucas.
State leaders make several announcements on changes to police across our state. What's going to happen immediately after the break? And statues of Christopher Columbus vandalized across the capital city. The message from a group pushing for them to stay standing.
ABC 6 News at 5 on your side starts now.
More now on our top local story. Governor Mike DeWine calling for some drastic reforms to police training and oversight.
Yeah, he'll need some help from the Republican-led legislature to get those done, but he's already making a few executive reforms tonight. Jeff Reddick at the State House to break those down for us. Jeff?
Well, Governor DeWine is using certain powers to offer or mandate some police reforms in Ohio. Chief among them is more training. The governor announcing some funding to pay for 6 additional hours of training in de-escalation for any officer in Ohio that wants it this year. Now, that's training on ways to handle certain people like patients who are on the autism spectrum, those struggling with drug and alcohol addiction. But the governor also wants more transparency, so he's mandating body cameras for all Ohio State Highway Patrol troopers. He does exert some control there as governor. The USHP will also outsource all internal investigations on use of force instead to the Ohio BCI to handle them. And the governor says that last part, the outsourced investigations, are critical in building community trust.
Simply put, law enforcement agencies should not be investigating themselves. Even if they do a great job, there is still the appearance of impropriety. There is the appearance, and people may not trust the outcome.
There is no cost analysis on any of the governor's proposals yet. The body-worn cameras especially are likely to be many millions of dollars between the devices themselves and data storage. Now, at 5 o'clock, we ran down a lot of other proposals, 5 big ones that the legislature will need to approve. Right now, the House and the Senate are steaming towards their usual summer recess, only the Senate with some maybe upcoming sessions. But Governor DeWine says he's confident they'll be back here and start hearings on those proposals just as soon as they get back into their respective chambers. Live at the State House, I'm Jeff Reddick, ABC 6 News.
All right, Jeff, thank you. New details tonight on the woman found dead in her SUV with a toddler this morning. The toddler is okay. Police found her body in an alley in the Linden neighborhood. Our Tom Bosco found out who she is.
A woman meets a violent end in an alley behind these houses here in Linden. Just as big of a shock is what police found in the back seat. After getting a call this morning, police discovered this car behind a garage in an alley between Cordell and Blake Avenues. Inside, the body of 27-year-old Jessica Skaggs, apparently shot. Then, in the back seat, they found a toddler, alive and unhurt. The child is now in the custody of Franklin County Children's Services. Police have not identified the child, but photos on Skaggs' social media show her with a young son. Skaggs lives on the west side. It's not clear why she was in this neighborhood. Neighbors we spoke with didn't recognize the car and didn't hear any shots fired overnight. Late into the day, police continued to have crime scene tape around an abandoned house near the alley, but it's not clear why. Police have ruled out suicide and are calling this the 50th murder of the year in Columbus.
My mother goes to work around this time, so she could have been walking out the back door as it's happening right in our backyard. So, she could have become a victim of this.
Marcus Hinton lives right where this happened and is unsettled by what occurred.
I'm here, I protect my mother and my nephew, and I'm trying to deal with it because I got to be strong for them because my mom's nervous and worried, and it's just weird, man. It's really weird.
In Linden, I'm Tom Bosco, ABC 6 News.
Statues of Christopher Columbus across our city are vandalized after Columbus State announced its statue will be coming down. And we're hearing from a lot of you about this issue. Luann Stoya with some new reaction from city leaders and the community tonight.
Police at Columbus State are reviewing surveillance video to see if they can find out who vandalized their Christopher Columbus statue early this morning. The vandalism comes after the community college announced it would be removing the 40-foot statue sometime in the next couple weeks. The school president calls it a move toward transparency and diversity.
I definitely don't think that it should be vandalized. I think that we need to have a conversation as a community about removing the symbol of racial genocide.
Crews this morning were power washing graffiti off the Christopher Columbus statue at City Hall. The city of Genoa, Italy donated it to the Italian community in 1955, which was then on loan to Columbus. Local Italian clubs want to weigh in with the city so that the statue stays or is at least returned to its rightful owners.
It's just a commentary on people's drive-by meme education of history.
There's also a Christopher Columbus statue at the State House. It too has been defaced. The Capitol Square Review Board plans to discuss the artwork's fate at its meeting July 16th.
The Columbus Piave Club is not going to say that this guy was a saint, or we're not going to try to sanitize the story.
Protesters continue to push for police reform and against racism. Whether removing statues that have been part of the fabric of this community for decades will be a part of that is tearing some apart.
History needs to be told or you're doomed to repeat it.
In Columbus, Luann Stoya, ABC 6 News.
Big traffic jam downtown today as dozens of buses circle the State House to make a point. 37 of them showed up at High, Gay, State, and 3rd Streets this afternoon, and they want a $15 billion share of federal assistance to combat losses from the coronavirus. Now, speaking to our Jeff Reddick earlier, they say that they're just as important as airlines in getting people where they need to go, and were just as hurt by the pandemic.
New details just into the newsroom now on the helicopter crash that killed Kobe Bryant. Investigators saying just before the crash, the pilot reported he was climbing out of the fog when in actuality he was descending. Bryant, his daughter, and 6 other passengers were killed January 26th while flying through very heavy fog and hitting a hillside. A final report on the crash may not come out until next year. Well, jobs are starting to come back, and one of the biggest employers in Central Ohio needs to fill hundreds of openings. What you need to know about a big curbside job fair tomorrow.
It's still a beautiful evening to be out and about, even though we've got a few sprinkles out there. Temperatures are going to be in the 70s, so it's comfortable. Coming up, where we expect more rain and weather will be on severe alert.
Week away now, next Wednesday and Thursday, June 24th and 25th. The Red Cross has precautions in place to make sure that it's easy and safe to donate. Donors will get a Cedar Point pass, good through the 2021 season, Papa John's Pizza and Columbus Zoo coupons, also an Amazon gift card. You have to make an appointment, though, this time, so call 1-800-RED-CROSS or visit redcrossblood.org to schedule now. A look at the latest coronavirus case numbers across the state. We're nearing 600,000 total tests tonight, and that includes more than 16,000 performed since just yesterday. All 4 of the state's key indicators are again below the 21-day averages. If you're looking for a job right now, the Honda plant in Marysville has hundreds of openings. There's a curbside hiring event tomorrow to fill about 800 manufacturing roles, and no experience required, and people who apply tomorrow could start as soon as Monday. The hiring event is in Marysville. That'll be tomorrow from 8 to 8, and you can also apply online. Read more about job opportunities during the pandemic, along with other headlines, on the free ABC6 app and on our website, abc6onyourside.com. Just click on Coronavirus, which is under the News tab. And the pandemic is also putting a pause on driver's tests. Just before 6, how the BMV is holding in-car exams at a social distance. First, though, the crew getting ready for their return in Florida. How the team is preparing for the MLS is Back tournament right after the break.
Require a diversity merit badge for anyone to become an Eagle Scout. It's in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. The organization will also require diversity and inclusion training for employees starting on July 1st. Property names, events, and other symbols could also see their names changed to distance the organization from Confederate history.
Now a live look at the new Crew Stadium. The construction cam there continues to operate here. What looks like stands being built there on the right side of the screen. Progress still being made on the stadium, and the team itself watching the progress there very closely, as you can imagine, looking to get ready for a major test after a very long layoff.
Clay Hall going one-on-one with head coach Caleb Porter.
What is new with the Crew? You got any scoop for me? I mean, who's tearing up training right now?
Well, Clay, I think everyone's tearing up training. They're
Yeah.
so eager to be back in. Yeah. So it's just great to have full team training after 13 weeks where we weren't able to really do what we normally do.
The team gearing up for the MLS is Back World Cup style tournament in Orlando next month.
Do you like the format in Orlando?
We like playing again. So this will kickstart the season. We're really confident we're going to have a season when we get back as well, where we'll have even some fans, hopefully, at Mafia Stadium again.
No cupcakes in Group E, it doesn't look like.
No, it's a strong group. You know, I've read a few things saying the Crew are locked to win the group. I hope that's the case, but we have Atlanta and New York Red Bulls. They're 2 of the best teams in recent years.
Porter was well aware of the new stadium and training center in the works when he interviewed for the job.
You know, that was a big part of why I signed on, because of course I was really excited about the past tradition of the Crew. I was well aware of that growing up in the Midwest, but also I love the idea of the new vision and new downtown stadium, new training ground. These are all things that matter.
The Crew plan to head to Orlando June 28th and play one friendly there before opening the tournament July 12th. I'm Clay Hall, ABC 6 Sports.
Cannot wait here. The Indians and Reds may actually take the field this summer. Major League Baseball and the Players Association are closing in on an agreement to play 60 games in 70 days starting on July 19th. The plan also includes expanded playoffs this season and next. Players would receive prorated pay. Still several hurdles, though. Dr. Anthony Fauci tells the LA Times that the playoffs should end by October. Otherwise, there's a risk of a second wave canceling them altogether.
Let's talk about the changes coming our way in the forecast. Marshall, things are pretty calm out there right now, but moving on in, we have some things to be weather aware for the next couple of days.
Yeah, it's going to be important to just keep an eye on the radar if you've got outdoor plans. It's going to end up being a little wet around parts of central Ohio for the next few days. This is all that storm we've been watching all week that's been out on the East Coast, and it's finally moving north enough that it's pushing some rain our direction, but it's also a little bit of a westerly component to it, so it's pushing it even farther back this way. A couple of sprinkles right now up near Mount Vernon. Most of that is even tapering off now. A little of that to the northwest of Coshocton. Everybody else is dry right now, but we're mostly cloudy in the metro area. Tempstar heating and cooling current conditions are very different between where you've seen some sunshine and where the clouds have been hanging a little bit. So Logan and Athens are in the mid-70s, but Marion, Bucyrus, and Kenton are in the 80s right now. That's because we've had more sunshine off to the northwest. We've had a little more cloud cover in central and southeastern Ohio. Temperatures in the 70s here in Columbus for the evening, 73 by 9 o'clock, and then overnight we'll drop to around 62. Chance at an evening sprinkle, not great, but there are a few out there. So we're going to keep that in the forecast for a little while. Otherwise, just partly cloudy overnight tonight, and that 62-degree low puts us pretty close to normal for this time of the year. Here's what it looks like for tomorrow. You see plenty of clouds on the way in the morning. Some scattered showers then starting to pivot around that low and get into Ohio during the afternoon. So we're likely to see some showers, even a potential rumble of thunder during the afternoon. If you have some outdoor plans, that's why you're going to want to keep an eye on the radar. Some sunshine in the morning. Not a lot, but some. The farther north and west you go, the more sunshine you'll get. Scattered storms then in the afternoon and evening, and then overnight we'll do a little bit of partial clearing. Now here's some good news. This is just going to be some garden variety thunderstorms. We're not expecting severe weather with any of this during the daytime tomorrow. It's not going to look severe on Friday either. So garden variety thunderstorms, but you could still get a quick downpour out of some of that. A lot of the area looking at about a 1/10 to a 1/4 inch worth of rain on Thursday. Daytime high getting into the low 80s tomorrow afternoon. Scattered showers and thunderstorms in the backyard, so just keep an eye on that radar. Take the app with you so you can see where some of that is. 83 for the high, mostly cloudy during the day. Again, the farther to the north and northwest you go, you'll start to be partly cloudy or even mostly clear, but in Columbus, we'll call it mostly cloudy. Afternoon showers and thunderstorms are on the way. Then on Friday, some sunshine in the morning, and then here we go again. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, mainly in the afternoon and evening. Otherwise, you're partly cloudy and humid. That 87 is going to feel more like it's in the low 90s. The weekend, first weekend of summer. Summer begins on Saturday. It's going to feel like it with highs around 91, feeling like mid-90s. And a chance for some pop-up storms both Saturday and Sunday. Then Monday, Tuesday, there's a cold front on the way. That's going to bring us another chance for showers and thunderstorms. Second cold front comes in on Tuesday, and some lingering showers and storms on Wednesday.
All right, thank you, Marshall. The National Veterans Memorial and Museum will welcome back veterans and guests on June 27th. It'll also feature a special exhibit extended now on the legacy of Bob Hope, who grew up in the Cleveland area. Members get special access to visit the museum early starting next Tuesday. Starting June 30th, every Tuesday will be dedicated to people 65 and older and people visiting with them. The museum recommends buying tickets online before you visit. Ohio State is working on 2 new clinical trials aimed at treating COVID-19. Both are using low-dose radiation to try and treat patients' lungs. They're inspired by studies showing its power in cases of severe pneumonia with few side effects. The James Cancer Hospital says it's the same type of radiation used to treat cancer, but a much smaller amount. Both trials are being led by Ohio State, while one is working with up to 20 other hospitals across the country.
Some people who deliver food and groceries for a living will get a hazard pay bonus, similar to what's being proposed by Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown. It'll add up to an extra $250 per delivery. The increase just approved in Seattle, the first city calling for this. Delivery drivers say that the extra money will help them keep you safer when they drop off your order.
It'll be easier for me to maintain my supply line of PPE.
While the law prohibits delivery companies from charging customers more, they could pass costs on to restaurants and stores who could then up their prices.
Heading out of state on vacation, health officials worry you might head back with some unhealthy baggage. Could a rise in travel spark a rise in coronavirus? We'll find out if you can get away and also get home safely next at 6.
Also, a tire thief on a roll. He's turning a road trip into a crime spree, hitting shop owners where it hurts. He's caught in the act, and we need your help to put the brakes on him. Next on ABC 6 News at 6.
ABC 6 is on your side, focusing on your finances. Ken Malinowski, mortgage manager at Kemba Financial Credit Union, is here. And Ken, we've heard that the mortgage industry is pulling back from offering mortgage loans. Is that true?
Well, I'll tell you the short answer is no, at least not across the board. It is true that during a significant economic event, which we're dealing with right now, lenders are going to shift their comfort zone when it comes to lending practices. But it's important to note that those decisions are made usually on a lending level, not at an industry level. So we shouldn't interpret that as an industry-wide practice.
So if people are looking for a mortgage, keep looking. And I'm Kurt Ludlow. We're focusing on your finances.
In that 70s show actor Danny Masterson now charged with raping 3 women. That according to the LA County District Attorney's Office. They say that the alleged incidents happened between 2001 and 03. Masterson is 44 years old. He also appeared on the Netflix series The Ranch. But Netflix fired him in 2018 amid accusations of sexual assault.
Some BMV offices around the state are now set up to do driving skills tests again, but teens won't be hitting the open road.
Yeah, they'll also have to wait a bit longer to get through the whole process. Here's Caroline Cohen.
After COVID-19 forced driving skills tests to a halt,
my temps expired March 30th.
The BMV has found a way to conduct the driving skills test in the safest way possible. But it's not your typical driver's exam.
We're providing the skills test on a closed course in our parking lots.
That's right. Drivers are being examined and scored from a tester outside their car on a mapped out course.
They have to have a licensed driver with them. The examiner will give them some instructions, some written and oral. Hey, here's what we need you to do.
While not on the roadway, the test will be pretty similar.
They had 3 stop signs, I believe, and 1 yield sign, and they asked me to go make a left turn, stop, another left turn, stop, and then a right turn.
There are some things the BMV can't quite replicate.
If you're on the road and you're speeding, that's an automatic fail. We hope folks aren't speeding in the parking lot. We hope that won't be a problem.
In order to test, you have to schedule an appointment in advance through the BMV. But beware, it could take some time, as they are backlogged since March.
We generally do about 40,000 skills tests a month.
Where's the first place you're gonna go without Dad?
Probably with my friends to like Chipotle or something.
In Columbus, Caroline Cohen, ABC 6 News.
Yeah, we know you're itching to take that summer vacation, but you could come home with some unhealthy baggage. Could a rise in travel spark a rise in coronavirus? We'll help you get away and get back safely next at 6.